Good morning. You are listening to UpReach, a morning devotional presented by the Church Street Church of Christ in Lewisburg, Tennessee, to encourage you as you face the opportunities and challenges of today. Let's begin this day together with some inspiring thoughts from God's holy word. Then the churches throughout all Judea, Galilee, and Samaria had peace and were edified. And walking in the fear of the Lord and in the comfort of the Holy Spirit, they were multiplied. Now it came to pass, as Peter went through all parts of the country, that he also came down to the saints who dwelt in Lydda. There he found a certain man named Aeneas, who had been bedridden 8 years and was paralyzed. And Peter said to him, Aeneas, Jesus the Christ heals you. Arise and make your bed. Then he arose immediately. So all who dwelt at Lydda and Sharon saw him and turned to the Lord. Acts chapter 9, verses 31 through 35. Can an entire city be transformed for Jesus Christ? The book of Acts reveals that at least one city is. There are 4 key ingredients required among its Christian leaders in order to see a city transformed. These include prayer, humility, unity, and a knowledge of God's ways. The first requirement is prayer. In every city in which transformation occurs, believers come together to pray for their city. Prayer changes the spiritual climate of a city. Some of the main areas of influence that must be the focus of our prayers include churches and businesses, the legal, political, educational, and medical fields, and the media or entertainment industry. Workplace leaders must be strategically aligned with prayer in order to truly impact their city in a positive way. The second requirement is humility. God uses men and women who recognize that they need each other and who do not seek glory for their work. The humble he guides in justice, and the humble he teaches his way. Psalm 25, verse 9. The workplace leaders that God is using today care little about being in the limelight. Third, the requirement is unity. Jesus says, I in them and you in me, that they may be made perfect in one, and that the world may know that you have sent me and have loved them as you have loved me. John chapter 17, verse 23. God calls each of us individually and corporately to represent Christ to the world, but our independence, pride, and ego often prevent us from becoming unified in the purposes of Christ. And finally, a requirement is a knowledge of God's ways. Sometimes leaders can move in presumption instead of in faith that is rooted in a knowledge of God's ways. Such is the case with David, who wants to bring the Ark of the Covenant into the city of Jerusalem. He is zealous for God and celebrates as he brings the Ark into the city. However, the Ark is being carried into the city on a cart instead of by priests on poles as God requires. When a man named Uzzah reaches out to catch the ark as the oxen stumble, he is immediately struck dead by God. David is devastated. He lacks a true knowledge of God's ways. What about you today? Do you want to see your city transformed? Why not do your part to make sure the 4 ingredients of prayer, humility, unity, and a knowledge of God's ways exists in your circle of influence? This has been UpReach, a presentation of the Church Street Church of Christ in Lewisburg, Tennessee. I am Kyle Bolton, the pulpit minister at Church Street, and I would like to personally invite you to come and share times of Bible study and worship with us each week. We meet every Sunday at 9 o'clock a.m. for our morning worship, followed by our Sunday school for all ages at 10:15 a.m. Then we meet again at 6 o'clock p.m. for our evening worship. We also have a midweek meeting for devotion and Bible study on Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. I hope to see you there. Have a blessed day.
There are some things I may not know. There are some places I can't go. But I am sure of this one thing, that God is real, for I can feel Him deep within. My God is real in my soul. My God is real, for He has washed and made me whole.